sometimes you gotta cut these shims a bit thinner, because remember, it goes from thin to thick. So sometimes you have to take off a little bit of the shim in order for it to fit, because the gap, as you can see, my gap is big up here, and when you're going down lower, it's getting smaller. So yeah, you gotta trim these shims every now and then to make sure it fits accordingly. And how you shim a door is you gotta make sure the shims are opposite each other. You can't just jam the shims inside like this. Sometimes you could do that if it's too big. You put two in and then you use another one the opposite direction to make it bigger in order for the shim to expand and make the door snug to the appropriate size you need it, or the appropriate gap that you need. So look what I'm doing, see? This side is thinner, this side is thicker. I'm pushing the thicker side in first, then I'll come and put another one opposite. Sometimes the one that I'm putting in the opposite direction, I have to trim it down, get that thickness that I need. So in this case, and by the way, my screws, I put shims above and below. So watch me now. You see, this is it's a little bit too loose, so I'll just trim the end. You could break it or you could cut it with a miter saw or whatever. And watch this now. You see, now it's tight. So I go in first with the thicker side. Let's find another screw. Okay, we have to do underneath here, so let's do this one now. So like this. So here, as you can see, we're still loose. So we gotta, remember, we're opposite. We're going opposite against each other to get that thickness. So we gotta trim this off a little. Put it in. And go the opposite. There we go. I think that's tight enough. See, it shouldn't be falling out. I didn't even screw it yet, and look, it's snug. See that? It's always good to put your screw in between the shims, so that way you could, if you have to make adjustment to the door, you could back the screws out a bit and make adjustments accordingly. So down here now, we're really tight. See where we're coming from? That's how you know this wall is not straight. It's crooked as hell. So bam, we're gonna do this at the lower area. So now, because we're getting tighter, I'm gonna have to cut the shim a bit more where it's smaller. That way I could stuff it in there. By the way, you don't want to have the shims wide like this. You could trim it down so you could, you know, have a lot more to use. So there you go, rip it. So let's go to the miter saw and trim this down to the appropriate size. So now look, we're trying to get as far back as possible, because that area that I just showed you by the door, it's a bit narrow. So we gotta go as narrow as possible with the shim. We can't use these areas. These areas are for huge gaps. So again, we don't need this. It's too thick. We need these. So we're just gonna find the area that we put the screw in, and it's right here, right? So, dang, it's really tight. And I can't even put another shim over here because there's a molding here that I didn't want to remove. So I'm gonna try and see what I can do. Holy shoot, it's really thin. All right, so in this case, we're just gonna use one shim. Well, we're gonna use two. That's too loose, so we gotta trim it down to where it's a bit thicker. The right way is to cut it, by the way. Just, all right, bam. So we have one. We have this. Okay, let me see. Nah. Okay, whatever. So we have one below, one above. Each time you pull the screw in, you gotta check with the level to make sure that you're not out of level or there's no gaps. I feel like I don't need the shim here because the door got so tight. So I'm gonna remove that. So let's pull it in a little and see what happens. Pull the bottom one in also. I think we're good. Okay, so that's my tip for the day. Right after you drive the screws in, you want to add the shims. After you add the shims, you watch the gap before you snug the screws into the jamb, pulling it up to the shims. And after that, you should be good. Tighten the screws accordingly and you're good. And another thing, don't forget your shims. The shims are important.